Hey, welcome to my channel. Going to talk a little bit about Apache Iceberg. Just a quick overview of what it is and some highlights and some use cases, of course, and some of the benefits as well as some of the negatives of it as well too. First and foremost, Apache Iceberg. It's hard to describe in a way. Well, not entirely, but it's really a new. So we have Parquet initially. If you know what Parquet was, it was a great column store that replaced Avro, which was a big thing, as well as org files. Uh, Parquet files is more of a case like is was optimal for data warehousing sort of aspects, but more so it's basically for large sets of data. But ideally, you read off of it, and it's a great columnar storage environment or storage data file, basically. I'll put it that way. A lot of the cases people were going towards JSON, and then eventually JSON evolved into Avro, and then from Avro, Parquet. And that was more in the MapReduce world and Spark world more than anything else. And now, outside of Spark, you've got now also Snowflake and all these distributed or MPP database architectures that are starting to use that at that point. Now, Iceberg is more of a case because the fact is you have a lot of more data sets coming into play that you're having petabytes of data that are playing a big factor into this, and it's one of those things where um, you need some scalability for it. Parquet still works, but it doesn't handle certain aspects of transactions and asset compliancy, basically. And that's where Apache Iceberg came into play. It's a table format for data lakes that provides a number of benefits. For one of them is specifically for performance, scalability, durability, flexibility, and of course simplicity. So now Apache Iceberg is again another columnar format, and it significantly improves the significance of queries that only need to access a subset of the columns. That's one of the nice things about that. Supports data compaction, which is pretty cool too as well too, similar to what Parquet does. And of course by reducing it, you can improve performance by reducing the size of the files in that situation. The one other thing is it uses a distributed architecture that can be used to store and query data across multiple machines. Similar to Parquet again, and you're still asking, it's like, all right, why would I want to use Iceberg versus, let's say, why would I want to use Iceberg over, let's say, Parquet? One of the other things that Iceberg does support is partitioning, which, especially when it comes to large tables, again, Parquet supports in that aspect. It's still a case where like it improves performance when you're partitioning, and some types of partitioning, of course, you can partition against is dates, regions, states, whatever it may be. The one thing though that is different between Parquet and Iceberg is the way that Iceberg tables are stored. They're in a transactional format, meaning it's not lost. So it supports some aspects of ACID complicit, or it's ACID compliant in certain cases where you don't lose data in a sort of failure. What you can happen in where that can happen with Parquet in that aspect. And also the other aspect is Iceberg tables. They are replicated across multiple machines, which provide an additional protection against data losses. Um, and of course, one of the other big factors is it can be supported in Spark, Hive, and Trino. Now, Trino is something relatively new. I haven't worked with Trino. Something I got to look into a little bit. But at least with similar to with Parquet in a ways is Iceberg tables. It supports SQL interfaces, which makes them easy for a variety of applications. Specifically, like some use cases for you can say is like for both batch and stream processing, similar to Parquet, using for like data warehousing and data lakes, and for those situations inside of a data lake, some of the applications will be for business intelligence, data analytics, machine learning, and real-time streaming. Of course, one of the a lot of the benefits, of course, of Iceberg, similar to Parquet, is Iceberg tables are designed to be efficient for both reads and writes, which is one of the ideal things. Is like when it comes to writes, scalability can support to large sizes. Parquet does have a limitation where you don't want to go beyond 1 gigabyte in the Parquet file, whereas Iceberg tables, Iceberg files can be a little bit larger than that. Iceberg tables are durable and can be used for mission critical data, or store mission critical data, to be honest. And it's flexible for, like I said, for some of those applications. And it's just like Parquet, it's simple to use, specifically with Apache Iceberg tables. They're very simple to use, and again, because of the fact that you can use against SQL. Some of the drawbacks for Iceberg is it's a relatively new project, so it's not as widely supported as like Parquet, because Parquet came out much earlier, came out of Google, I believe, and of course became more mainstream and such. But with Parquet, and then the other aspect but Parquet does not support, or it can in a ways, that sort of transactional environment. And that's where Delta Lakes come into play, as well as, let's say, Amazon's S3 Select and Google Cloud's BigQuery and such. Those actually work on that situations. But I think one difference is like, the fact is like Delta Lake is a definite competitor to it. Similarly, I think one of the other big competitors as well too is, what was the other one? I forgot the other one. I think it was Apache Hudi. But Hudi was more of a case where it was defined for the Hive tables more than anything else. And then from that perspective, Iceberg now is becoming a little bit more popular, that Snowflake's going to start supporting it as well too. So Snowflake's going to start utilizing it a little bit more over, with Parquet, of course, giving the options for each one. And of course, one of the big things is Iceberg is, definitely being used by Airbnb, Spotify, Uber, and I believe, let me look at the website for a second. And I believe, outside of Cloudera, Snowflake, Dremio is another big one that's supporting it. It was supporting it as well too, as well as Starburst, which is the Trino query engine. And I got to go look a little bit about the Trino query engine, to be quite honest. I don't really know. Outside of Airbnb, I believe Google started to jump into it a little bit too, and I think they started utilizing a little bit into this Azure Synapse environment. So it's interesting to see how that works out. But with it, honestly, it's very powerful, and it's a flexible table format for data lakes, specifically for data lakes. Provides a number of benefits, including, like I said, performance, scalability, durability, flexibility, and simplicity. One of the things is like, you might be asking, well, wait, why not Parquet? Well, because the fact is, like I said, that Parquet is much more popular, as well as, why not a Delta Lake, which is coming out of Databricks, of course, too. Well, Delta Lake is a big thing. I'm not going to say anything against them. The only reason why I would say Apache Iceberg works out more favorably than, Iceberg works more favorably over Parquet is, again, there are some limitations about Parquet. The compaction is not as much compared to Iceberg per se. The other aspect is Parquet has those limitations. If you go beyond a certain file size within a Parquet file versus a Iceberg, it does slow down the performance a little bit, and specifically when you're running Spark queries against it as well too. Iceberg is more flexible in that perspective, to the point where you can do partitioning within Iceberg tables. Parquet, not as much per se. You can, but it's very tedious, to put it that way, to do that. One of the other aspects as well too is it's like I said, it supports ACID transaction and schema evolutions. Now, schema evolutions, of course, is part of the things with Parquet supports alone, but it doesn't support. But the thing is, ACID and partitioning are two things that Iceberg does do that Parquet does not do. Unfortunately, one of the other drawbacks, of course, is again, you got Apache Hudi and Delta Lake, which do support the same exact thing. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. If you were to work with it, honestly, it's going to be a little tricky to do. I'm looking at the website right now, and it's one of those things where it's not something. One of the aspects is that you're going to be using against it is it would be either in a Spark Shell, PySpark, or Spark SQL. Actually, more often than not, you might want to do it in Spark SQL. Spark Shell works out really well as well too. PySpark, of course, but I think Spark SQL makes absolute sense in this situation. And of course, with Spark, it's one of the big things that you want to utilize. You know what? I'm just going to leave it that a little bit because I could go into more in-depth detail about Apache Iceberg. If you do want me to go more in-depth and describe the architecture, I mean, I'm starting to work with it a little bit more now, specifically in the fact that it's the docs aren't so great, but there is some decent information about it. I could even do a 10, Iceberg 101 type of thing, basically more than anything else, or 102. But if you do want me to talk a little bit more about it, please leave a comment in the comment section to let me know about it if you want to learn more about it and expand upon it even more, or hell, even giving benefits, or not benefits, but a comparison between Apache Iceberg versus Parquet versus Iceberg versus Delta Iceberg versus Apache Hudi, and some of the use cases between each one, and which one might make more sense over the other. Or to go more in depth into it at that point. Just let me know what your thoughts are on it, and please leave a comment in the comment section. I will read it. I will respond to it. If you do have a question, I can respond to the question directly in the comment section, or two, I could open up another video about it at that point, answering those questions as well too. But with that, I'll leave it at that. If you enjoy my video, enjoy my content, enjoy my channel, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you don't like it, but still want to watch my videos, you're welcome to subscribe to it as well too, if you haven't subscribed. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, even though Iceberg's a relatively new application, or not application, it's a new format that's out there. It's one of those things where it's gaining enough momentum to the point where, like, the fact that Snowflake is willing to apply it as well too is pretty interesting. And let's not forget Dremio is another big factor as well too. And Dremio is becoming a more and more mainstream type of thing. So that's one of the things that'll be interesting as well too. And outside of that, I'll leave it at that. Oh, that's one of the other aspects as well too, is with Iceberg, you can sort of create these table snapshots, so that you can sort of like, do version almost like a change data capture, similar to like the Delta Lake. That's one of the other big things as well too. So with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts, and with that, I'll end it. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.